Okay, Year 11, welcome to your video tutorial on privacy. This is quite a short syllabus dot point. It doesn't go for too long, but there's a few key concepts you have to understand. So the dot point is very simply, the need to protect an individual's data and identity. That's what we need to look at. There is a need to protect people's data and their identity, particularly when they're using software systems. So the big question that we're looking for here is who is really at the end of the day responsible for a user's data within a system? I know this might seem pretty, obvious, but hold on. If I as a user willfully give over my information, don't I relinquish any responsibility? Or, what am I responsible for as a developer? What am I responsible for, or what rights do I have in terms of the data I give over as a user? So in answer to the obvious first question, it is a software developer's responsibility to protect user data. Your particular software system might require a range of different pieces of information from your users. So you might request whole lots of personal data. However, what right does your user then have around that data that they relinquish into your system? That's what we're really going to cover today. So the National Privacy Act of 1988, that's the piece of legislation that you need to know, kind of sets out 10 national privacy principles, and they have been obviously reviewed, and you guys can actually remember it like this. You can remember all 10, or I've kind of summarized them for you. And the summary of them is, what does a software developer need to do? This is the summary of the 10 principles that come from the Privacy Act of 1998. Basically, as a developer, you need to explain why personal information is being collected and how it'll be used. You need to provide individuals with access to their records. You need to correct inaccurate information. You need to divulge any information of any other parties that may be provided with that user data. You need to describe what individuals, like what purpose you have for collecting their data. And you also need to, explain to your user what info is being held and how you're managing it and how you're protecting it. So basically the summary of that is, when you guys sign up for a system and you read the terms and conditions and you quickly go, yes, I accept next. If you ever read them, what you'll actually find is a whole lot of information about what personal information is being taken by the system and any other parties that might be, they might possibly have access to the data, because some of the time software companies sell your information. They do. And if you don't read the fine print, they can get away with selling that to, whoever they want. They'll also have to, provide you with what information is being held and how it's managed. And why, the purpose of collecting your data. What some of you might not be aware is dot point 2 and 3, you actually need to provide access to users for their records and allow them for an opportunity to correct inaccurate information. So if I go out of here, I open onto a new tab, I'm in my school account, and I go accounts.google.com, okay, I actually have access to all of my privacy and personal data. I'm not actually going to go on this because I'd rather you not know my data, but I actually have access to all of my personal information, all of the data that Google collects about me, every piece of personal information, so any payment form, any subscription form. I know a lot of you, I see a lot of, eye-catching headlines like, does your phone track you? Well, yes, if you've let it. Does your phone listen to you? Yes, if you've let it. One of the great things about Google, so obviously this isn't on my work account, but my personal account, I have an Android phone. So Google collects lots of information about me in terms of where I have been, where I drive, because I use Google Maps all the time, but my phone also tracks me. So I can also access that data. That's part of it. Google can't just, collect that data without giving me access. So I can go into my maps and I can go into a section called My History, and it actually gives my timeline for the entire time. Google has to provide me with that if they are collecting that data. So, as a software developer, I really do need to provide all of this information back to my users. And that's it, guys. That is why there is a need to protect data, basically because it comes under the Privacy Act, and these are the kind of things you need to do as a software developer.